Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Unscripted Coding. Today I have booted up on my iPad Vectornator. Vectornator is a free vector graphics software. This is in the same realm as Adobe Illustrator or Inkscape. And the whole idea here is I hate vectors. Personally, I find them really difficult to work with. And I think my complaints are more launched at Adobe Illustrator. It is standard. It's what everybody works with, but I hate it. It's very difficult to use. And so I wasn't doing any fancy graphics. I just needed a couple flat images, and Vectornator is a free, 100% free app. There are no ads, and it's just a little easier to use than Illustrator, in my opinion. It's probably lacking a few features, but I found it super sufficient. So, what are vector graphics? Well, and I'm gonna try and do something simple here. Vector graphics are generally SVG files. That's scalable vector graphics. The idea here is, of course, that they're not your standard JPEG files, your PNG files, whatever you're used to using, because they're not pixel by pixel. One example is right here. We are going to make a rectangle, okay? And just to make sure it pops out a little further, a little bit better, to make a nice gray color. Okay, you see this design here. It is a rectangle, and what it's telling the computer is there is this rounded corner rectangle in the middle of the screen. There's no pixels, so you can zoom in and in and in, and the edges are going to be always crisp. That's the main feature. And for vector graphics, you're not going to do kind of oil paintings. What you want to do is make it filled with shapes, or you can even draw. That's not what I want to do. You can draw various things as well, but the brushes aren't nearly as artistic, aren't nearly as grainy, don't have the teeth that Adobe Photoshop would have. So you're going to be, I think, drawing fairly flat images. I'm just trying to think here what a good idea is, and think maybe I can draw something recognizable, which is a cell phone. So there's the camera bump. Okay, let's. Okay. There's the camera bump, and then I'm gonna add just a couple. Camera lenses here. There's the big lens. Oops. The small one. Let's call that an LED flash. And then here's another camera lens, and then we'll move this one up. So something super simple here. We might put a logo right here in the middle, but we have a very simple flat image. Now, the whole point here is vector files can be a lot smaller than PNG files, and they're also very crisp, and they embed right into websites. So I did a few kind of images for myself. And what you can do is export the SVG file. It's an iOS, iPad, so you can put it through your email client, OneDrive, whatever it may be. But basically, you save it, export it somewhere, and what you're going to get is a file that looks like this. Okay, it is an SVG file, and if you look at a ton of HTML, you'll realize, this looks very much like it. And that's because you can embed it right in there. I'm going to take out this metadata from Vectornator. But what you can do, I'm sorry, I probably should explain this. You get an SVG file, used OneDrive, and I opened it up in Visual Studio Code. You get the code, and then you can put it wherever you want. I have a blank web page set up here. It's very blue. It's not eye-catchy whatsoever. But here's the code for the HTML. Basically a blank web page. I put in a nav bar and a footer, but here is my main area. And I'm just going to throw the SVG file in there. And there it is. It's a long one. Take out this, of course. What we want is the actual SVG, and then you can save it. So now what's going to happen? Well, we refresh. There's my image. And look at how crisp it is. So if I zoom in, that is not a great demo, but let's see if I can zoom in like so. Okay, let's not zoom in then. But the whole point is you have a very, very crisp file. You can probably achieve this if you have, a 5,000 by 5,000 pixel image, but instead, and that would be a very sizable file. Instead, what I have here is a 45 kilobyte file. It is absolutely tiny. And what I enjoy also is that you don't need to have an image HTML tag where you're pointing to some other storage. You can embed the SVG right in the code so that when it's delivered through the internet browser you're using, it's not a separate file. It's not available to download. You can't manipulate it or anything like that. You just see the code. So that's all I wanted to share. It's super simple. Vectornator is a great app to do this. I found it simpler and easier to use, but you can do the same thing with, let's say, Adobe Illustrator. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's quite a bit shorter than usual, but I think it's a helpful tip. So thanks for watching. See you guys next week.